You're actually.
It's so.
You went on time. You decided. Sorry.
I promise I didn't want to all.
Good morning.
Otherwise, I'm crying.
All right. Oh, time to wake up. All right. Good morning and welcome to interviewing. I was going to play a belated April Fool's joke and post slides from a completely different class and ask like, "Wait, what the heck are you doing here?" But figured it was an April Fool's joke enough to have to deal with the snow in the beginning of April. So decided to give you a little bit of a break there. So welcome, glad to have you all here. We are a full house, so we are right at the 25 student cap. Welcome, glad to have so many people here, and I'm really excited to have the chance to talk with you all about interviewing. I'm Dr. Benjamin Mann. You can call me Ben, Dr. Mann, Professor Mann, whatever you prefer. I am an assistant professor of communication and chair of the communication studies program here at EOU. I recognize a number of familiar faces, a few folks that I'm working with for the first time. So whether you're new or returning, I'm looking forward to getting to know you all better and talking about interviewing. So the best way to get things started for this class is to have the chance for us to do some interviewing. So what I'd like you to do is to start by finding a partner in the class, preferably somebody that you don't know. So maybe it's somebody you did not walk into the room with. So what I'll be asking you to do in just a little bit is to provide a brief 30 to 45-second introduction of your partner to the class. So your task between now and that point is to take some time to interview your partner, ask them some questions, get to know them a little bit better so that you feel prepared to introduce themselves to the class in just a little bit. You can make a group of 3, and the way you would do that is to rotate. So maybe person A is introducing person B is introducing person C, etc. So take some time to find a partnership or group of 3. Take some time to share some information. You might jot down some notes on things that you're noticing. And I'll give you about 10 or so minutes to introduce yourselves and prepare to share your introductions with the class. Like no, I make It might take some time to switch roles if you haven't done so already, and let the other person share a little bit more about themselves.
That's why I did not.
So take about 2 more minutes. Might take some time to tie up loose ends and confirm that your partner is has accurate information. That has certainly happened before. So I have seen the discussion lull, so take a moment or two to just look over your notes and make sure you've got what you need to introduce your partner. Might want to double check their name, make sure you got that. Okay, so what I would like us to do now is, now that you've had the chance to get to know your partner or group of three, I'm going to have us go around the room and give you the opportunity to give that partner your introduction. So let's go ahead and start here on the side.
Okay. This is Kendall Alvani. Doesn't like dogs. Pendleton. She's a senior. She runs track and cross country. And she's an exercise science major.
Okay.
This is Wyatt Hawkins. He's from Bakersfield. He's a freshman. Favorite color is blue. He's on the track team, runs 200, 400. Currently undecided, but interested in law enforcement, and has lots of animals.
Okay. So Kendall and Wyatt, thanks for your introductions. Interesting to see where some of the responses about animals came in, like leading with not liking dogs and bringing in that later. So it's an interesting way to introduce yourself. I'm Wyatt and I don't like dogs. So welcome. I have you both here. So let's move here to the second row.
Okay, my partner is Thomas Gregory Ogden. He's from Boise, Idaho. He's a freshman on the track and cross country team here, and he just got a fresh haircut. So,
All right.
yep, his favorite colors, light blue, and his favorite type of water is tap water. And if he could live on any planet, keep raining, and then his favorite type of orange juice is orange juice.
All right. Very eclectic.
This is Natania Reed. She's from Juneau, Alaska. She has 4 siblings. She worked on a glacier. Her favorite color is purple. She's a freshman. Her favorite type of water is stream water. She lives on Venus, and her favorite type of juice is cranberry juice.
All right. So interesting to see similarities in the kinds of questions y'all are asking. Favorite planet, favorite kind of water, right? Very creative, but also kind of very open-ended and allowing you all to share kind of fun and interesting things about yourself in a way that is less rigid when we'll talk about this topic.
This is Johnny Wynn. He's from Meridian, Idaho. He's from Robson High School. He's on the cross country team and track team. He's a junior. He's a business major. He worked at the golf course. His favorite color is purple.
All right.
This is Mark Church. He's from Fruitland, Idaho. He rows on the track team. He's a freshman, and his major is health and performance. And then he fought fires last summer and summer before that. And his favorite color is orange.
All right. Yeah. So really informative, really, nice to find both points of similarity from discussion, but also having the chance to get to know some unique things about each other. So thank you all for that introduction. Let's move on here to the third row. We got a trio over here.
I got up to the right here. He is 20 years old, and his major is business administration. He's from Yakima, Washington. He plays football here at UAP. He has 1 brother and 1 sister, lives off campus, plays video games, and has 1 dog.
Can I get that name one more time?
Malachi.
No. Yeah.
All right, this is Drew Reyes. He's 22 years old. He's a senior this year. He plays football as well at UAU. His major is exercise science. He's from Yakima, Washington. He has 2 brothers, 1 sister. He likes to snowboard and game, and 1 dog.
All right.
This is Kayla Burnham. So she's 19 years old. Her major is exercise science. She's a senior this year. She's going to graduate in spring.
Awesome.
She's from Kena, Idaho. She did play softball. That was her biggest sport. She has one sister. She lives on campus as a RA. And her hobbies are crochet and she likes to eat food. And she has one dog and two cats back home.
Great. Well, congratulations on being so close to the finish line, Kayla. It's interesting over the course of interviewing, right? You build rapport, you build connection, you find points of commonality. So I think exercise science seems to be a pretty closely connected point between you all. And so finding the way to build conversation within interviews can be really helpful. A lot of times, especially in something like an employment interview, one of the tricks is to essentially turn it into what would be a very rigid back and forth into a dynamic conversation where you're finding that connection and ways to allow it to unfold dynamically that can help us to really build the strong connections that we want for getting a job or getting the information you need in an interview. So thanks for your introduction. Here in the back.
This is Lily Torres. She's a junior in sociology major in communications minor. She wants to go into a master's in social work. She's from Sunnyside, Washington. She has a dog. She works at the coffee shop and library. Her family has like a farm and like slash ranch that she works on sometimes. She has two older sisters and one younger sister. Her mom works at a hospital and her dad works for the air. This is Jill Lewis. They've done for them. They're from the drive. They're major in psychology, minor in music. They play the bass guitar and write music. They have a cat named Ray, Black Cat, and they're raised on campus. They have one older brother that also plays music, and their dad is a civil engineer.
Awesome. Thanks for the introductions. It's great as you're hearing the responses, you have a sense of the types of questions people have been asking and a lot of commonality in question types. There's a black cat that's always in front of my place and loves to lie down right next to the wheel of my car. So I'm always anxious, every time I'm about to get out. I just have to see it run away. If I don't see it run away, then I'm looking under the car to make sure it's clear before going. So, welcome. Glad to have you both here. So let's move here to the middle.
All right, this is Addison Bonzoni. She was born in Arizona and moved to Oregon at the age of 5. She is currently 20 and started at EOU last year, is currently a senior. Her major is anthropology and sociology, and she plans to pursue archaeology after graduation. Currently president of the Archaeology Club and an RA.
Very cool.
This is James Finchie. He is 21 years old, born in Vail, Oregon, and moved there until coming here. He is currently a senior in business and communications and being paralegal. He already has a job lined up to do rates. He has one sibling and a dog at the border collie named Spot, who's kind of a genius. His favorite color is forest green, and a fun fact about him: almost died 3 times without ever breaking a bone because of
Cows. I mean, I know moose can be vicious and certain creatures can be vicious. Cows, all right. I'm glad you have survived the cows. And congrats on that opportunity all lined up. That's super exciting. And Addison? Yeah. Awesome. Welcome. Glad to have you both here and probably have worked with Dr. Becker a lot. Yeah. We have a joke. There's, I guess, a woolly mammoth that he recently got, and he has a safe down in the basement. There's you start to go in the basement, there's a bit of a smell down there. So joke about archaeology, woolly mammoths in the basement of this building. Fun stuff, very cool, and great to have you both here. Let's move up to the front.
All right, this is Milton Hernandez, he is 18, he's a freshman. He was born in Hayburn, Idaho. He's a psychology major. His favorite color is white. He knows his name in sign language. He has one older brother, one older sister, and one younger brother.
Okay.
All right, this is Richard Austin Turner, but he goes by his middle name, Austin.
Okay.
He is a psych major, 19-year-old freshman who lives on campus. He is from Oregon City, Oregon. He has 3 siblings, 1 older brother and 2 younger sisters. His favorite color is purple. And fun fact about him is he has a birthmark in his hair.
Oh, it looks, that's very cool. All right. Milton and Austin, thank you both for introducing yourselves. Great to learn a bit more about both of you, and I appreciate sharing just that introductory information to help us get to know each other better. By the way, at any point, if ever I'm doing my best to get names based on what your partner shared, you would like to be called something different than what I have here, just let me know at any point. I don't want to get your names wrong. And I default to gender neutral, but if there's a way you prefer to be addressed, know that I'm happy to support you in however you'd like to be addressed in the class as well. Yeah, let's move over here.
So this is Kai. He's 21 years old. He's a senior, majoring in business administration, minoring in communication from Kuna, Idaho. And he used to wrestle here, but stopped from knee injuries. And his aspiration after his bachelor's is having a job in sports and marketing.
Very good.
This is Ferris. He's 20 years old, and a junior. His major is economics and minor in business and communication. He's from Palm Desert, California. He came here for men's soccer. His aspirations after college is intellectual property law.
All right. Awesome. So one thing that I really like as I'm hearing your introductions from a lot of folks in the class is a lot of people have ideas about where they're interested in going next. And if you don't, that's okay, right? You have plenty of time to continue to think through that. But one thing that I hope you'll take away from this class is greater skills for participating in interviews, right? Being called in, in consideration for a job, or if you're thinking about gathering information in your job, right? If you are seeking information out surrounding intellectual property law, right, with your clients, people you'll be working with, there's probably a lot you need to be addressing with them. So being able to conduct a good informational interview is really important too. So interviews are not just useful for us for landing a job, they're also useful for the nuts and bolts in the job itself, right? We'll be asked to gather information, we'll be asked to assess performance, we'll be asked to, in some cases, examine issues of health. So these are all skills we'll be looking at a bit more in this class too. Let's move over here.
Cool. So I interviewed Audrey Gross. She is from Hood River, Oregon. She's currently undeclared in her major, but is thinking about cybersecurity. Her hobbies include cheer, and over spring break, she slept and hung out with her family, which includes her parents, her little brother, her hedgehog, and her cat. This is Kate Jones. She's from Missoula, Montana, and she's double majoring in English writing and communication. Some of her hobbies include reading, writing, hanging out with her cat, and she was a part of the cheer and dance team. In Missoula, she lives with her mom, who recently got married, older brother, and 3 cats. And for spring break, she had a lot of appointments, got a haircut, and cleaned her closet.
All right, that sounds like a very productive spring break. Got some good stuff done. So welcome. Again, a bit of a through line here about cats. Funny to see opinions about dogs and other animals over here, opinions about cats over here. Thank you all for sharing a little bit about yourselves. And then back here.
So this is Britt Vaughn. She's on the volleyball team. She's from Wenatchee, Washington. She's majoring in communications and minoring in business. She's the youngest of 3. She's currently a junior. Her dream vacation is to go to Spain and Greece. Her favorite color is red.
All right, this is Sade Williams. She's from Idaho Falls and she's currently a senior. She's also on the volleyball and track team. She's a dog mom. She's a business major and she has 4 siblings and she's also the youngest. Her dream vacation would be an African safari and her favorite color is blue.
Awesome. And is it Sade?
Sade.
All right. So great to have you both introduce yourselves too. Fun to hear a lot of through lines about pets and about some of the activities and athletics you all have been involved in. I recognize you got a lot of people who will likely be traveling over the next few months. So we'll do what we can to support you, accommodate your schedules, and make sure that we're able to help you keep pace in the class. So I appreciate you all taking the opportunity to interview and introduce each other. I did this for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's useful for us to get to know each other better. We'll be working together a lot. We'll be doing individual group activities. You'll also be doing interviews in this class in partnerships that'll shuffle over the course of the term too. So we'll have a lot of opportunities to get to know each other better. But I also did this to look at trends and how you all asked questions, how you answered questions, how you approached the topic of interviewing in this class. And there were a few things that I noticed, and a few things we'll continue to talk about more as the term continues. Okay? So a few things to consider as you're immediately reflecting on this activity. First of all, to think about why you chose the questions that you did. A lot of you chose questions that were very consistent with how you might have introduced yourselves in other classes and situations, right? Asking for kind of demographic information, where are you from, what's your major, what are some of the activities that you do? These are questions that are not only useful to understand each other, but they're what's considered to be low stakes questions, right? We use these kinds of questions early on in an interview as a way of building comfort and building trust. If you've taken another class such as interpersonal communication or communication theory, right? We talk a lot about the idea of uncertainty reduction, that we use communication, the exchange of symbols to convey meaning as a way of letting our guard down, of forming deeper connections with people and building trust. We have stranger danger. We're a little bit anxious when we start to communicate with people. And so through the process of sharing that information, we can break those barriers down. So that can be a common reason that we introduce ourselves with those early questions. You might consider the flow that you chose for your questions. You start with introductory questions and get into more detailed, in-depth ones about perhaps why you chose to come here to EOU, about some of the goals that you have after EOU. So you might have built in that way. You might have used follow-up questions. Maybe there was a really interesting train of thought, like talking about water and the types of water that people prefer, right? Where you found a thread and you continued with that thread that you found to be interesting or engaging. So you might think about how we're using things such as follow-up questions to elaborate and provide more detailed information to one another that really hits on a grain that we find interesting. Because when we have an answer to a question that really surprises and provokes us, we want to continue to dig into that, right? And use follow-up questions is a great way to do that. And then we can also think about the way that we use nonverbal responses. Are we taking notes? Are we nodding? Are we showing attentiveness? Are we saying yeah? Do we have a one-to-one where you're asking a question, they ask the same question, or did you alternate and go through the entire set of questions? Another consideration is the idea of open versus closed-ended questions. A lot of folks chose more closed-ended questions. What is your major? What are activities that you do? But you might consider how open-ended questions invite people to talk about things that they're the most interested in sharing, or what immediately comes to mind. So if someone was to say, what do you want me to know about you? Somebody might start by saying the activities they like to do. They might start by sharing where they're from. Sometimes an open-ended question is an opportunity for somebody to share what's really important to them and what they want to make sure that the interviewer understands. So these are all threads that we're going to continue to pick up on over the course of the term, but all things to think about in terms of why you chose the questions that you did, why you answered the questions the way that you did, and how the interview structure helped you to understand one another. So I wanted to provide a little bit of goals in the course. I know going over the syllabus is not the most fun, but I do like to be as clear as possible about what you're expecting out of the course. And we'll spend a little bit of time going into some of that nitty-gritty. And again, Constitution prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, so I will try to get us out a little bit early today. This is the first day of the term. So I pulled this morning from Indeed, which you might know is one of the biggest sites in terms of posting job ads, in terms of providing employment resources and other data. And I think this speaks to the significance and importance of interviewing, right? The most important skill to an interview, according to a lot of industry experts, is verbal communication, right? Our ability to communicate with one another. How many of you have ever participated in a job interview of any kind? Okay, so most of you. How many of you have participated in an interview that, in your opinion, did not go the best? Okay, so a few of you, or maybe as you're reflecting, you say, it was okay, but I could have done better, right? Not all of us are going to nail the interview. In fact, we're going to be our worst critics, and oftentimes coming out of an interview, we say, oh, I wish I would have said that thing, or I wish I would have answered that question differently. One of the biggest frustrations a lot of people have is they have a lot of experience or information or things that they wanted to share, but they just couldn't quite get that out there. They couldn't make the impression that they wanted to make over the course of the interview. So what we'll be talking about in this class are tips in terms of representing yourself effectively. The information about your education, your experience, your background, all of that stuff is crucial for other people to understand in interviews, and verbal communication and building that out a little bit more is a way that we can help us more effectively communicate with one another in the interview process. An interview can literally change a life, right? You're put in a room for like 15 or 20 minutes, you're doing a job interview, right? And you know that that is going to change your location, that's going to change the trajectory of your career, right? That is going to alter so much about your own experience. It can be a lot of stress, it can be high stakes, right? Sometimes the process of gathering information, like about a candidate for a job, or perhaps you're asked to sit down and interview somebody really significant to you, right? That process can feel really important too, right? So no pressure, but interviews can feel very high stakes. Interviews can help us get information and do what we need to do, right? So oftentimes in professional settings, we're going to be asked to go in and interview. This isn't just if we're working for a newspaper or doing journalism, right? This is about seeking information out about a client, reaching out to a potential investor or customer, right? That process of taking a survey, that information helps us in a lot of different contexts. And interviews can improve our quality of life. They can allow us to better understand, relate to one another. Perhaps you have listened to a podcast, watched an interview like on a late night show, right? Our ability to understand and relate to one another can make us feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more connected to one another, right? One of the reasons, among several, right, that a lot of actors such as Pedro Pascal are so popular is how charismatic and open they are in interviews. Our ability to convey charisma, convey charm, convey interest in the interview process plays a really big role in our public perceptions. In this class, what I want us to be doing is to be thinking about this in two ways, right? We are in a dual role, both as an interviewer and an interviewee. And my goal in this class is to help you to develop skills that allow you to excel in both of those roles, right? We might think a lot about being an interviewer. For instance, how you engage with the person you're interviewing effectively. What are the kinds of questions that you ask? How do you get their attention? How do you gather the information that you need? How do you fit in the goals? Perhaps you were trying to figure out if somebody's a good fit for the job. What do you need to ask them, right? And how can you make sure that the process of interviewing somebody is ethical? Again, that's a skill a lot of people are looking for, right? A lot of you are, of course, invested in how to develop skills as an interviewee too, right? How can you develop a crisp and effective response to a question? How can you build good skills and confidence in public speaking and presentation ability? And again, how are you able to represent yourself knowing that you're on the clock, knowing that somebody might ask follow-up questions, knowing that you might be interviewed by somebody that you do not know anything about at all, right? So what we'll be doing in this class is helping you to build skills in both of those roles. And as we do interview presentations in this class, you'll be switching between those roles so that you can explore those in a little bit more detail. So we'll be looking at building effective questions and looking at building effective responses to interviews as well. So the way that this course is set up, essentially, there are 3 different interview presentations that you'll be doing in this class. In each interview presentation, right, you will be in a partnership where one person is questioning the other and then you switch. So both you and your partner get to take on both roles, right? We'll be doing a more survey-oriented interview early in the class. We'll be doing an employment interview toward the middle of the term. And then toward the end, there are a variety of different types of more professional and advanced interviews. And based on your own interests and goals, we'll be giving you the option to pick a preference, and you'll be in a partnership that is speaking to that type of interview you're especially interested in. So we'll talk more about that as we continue with the term, just to give you a preview of what to expect. So I've introduced myself to a few of you before, but for those of you that are here for the first time in one of the courses that I teach, so I grew up in Oregon myself. I grew up on the western side of the state in West Linn, Lake Oswego area. I thought I was going to be an English teacher, so I got a bachelor's in English. Started to realize that I really was interested in communication, right? One of my hobbies that started in high school as an extracurricular, but in college turned into much more of a passion was competitive speech and debate. I got on a speech and debate scholarship, got to travel and compete at the national level. Really, really enjoyed that and was really interested in how people are able to advocate on a variety of issues and topics that are really important to them. So that passion drove me to Northern California, where I got my master's in communication at University of the Pacific. I switched to examining media representation and related issues. And then I spent from 2016 to 2020, I was in Utah and Salt Lake City, where I got a PhD in communication. My dissertation work examined how folks who are both neurodivergent and members of the LGBTQ+ community experience disparities and challenges with health providers and how to more effectively advocate and communicate about health issues. So after that, I really wanted to return back to my home state. It's my second year here at EOU, and I really enjoyed being back in Oregon, getting to know Eastern Oregon a lot better, and getting the opportunity to work with folks like you. So I teach a lot of different communication classes. Interviewing is one that I get a lot of fun out of, and I think it's a great way for us to really build those practical skills that we can use outside of the class too. So one of my big areas is health communication. I teach a course called Communicating Health and Science that examines those issues. So if you're in exercise science or a related field, you're interested in related issues about how we communicate about health, I teach a course related to that. I also have background in rhetoric, critical cultural studies, specifically how folks with disabilities advocate on a variety of issues and topics. I've published research in that area. I coached the debate team at the University of Utah. We had a lot of fun. They won a national championship in 2016, the first year I joined. And EOU is in the process of getting things started with the team as well. If you find yourself interested in speech and debate, the person to talk to is over in English writing. So I encourage you to reach out to Jim, who teaches an argumentation and debate workshop. So that's Professor Jim Benton over in English writing. So if you're interested in debate, travel and competition, or you did it in high school, we're trying to get things rolling here at EOU. Hobbies and activities. I have a recently turned 4-year-old Labrador Retriever named Sylvie, who loves to go on hikes with me and get absurdly large sticks and logs that she likes to drag for as long as she can across trails. I'm as a hobby into independent video game design. I'm working on a tactical RPG. I also like to play a lot of video games. So my current video game obsession is Hades, and I'm trying to do as much as I can through my runs of that game. And I also really love live music. So I love going to concerts, going to shows, listening to live music. I was up in Portland and listened to Pinback last week. So I really enjoy live music. So I do want to go over some of the things related to the syllabus for this course. You can think about the syllabus as the instruction manual for this course, right? That goes over what you need. When in doubt, the syllabus is a great place to start. I encourage you to take some time between now and the end of the week to review the syllabus for yourself so that you know exactly what to expect. And I'm happy to answer questions related to the syllabus too. So this is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 to 10:50. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can use this email address. I'm also totally fine with Canvas notifications, so you're welcome to reach out to me through there as well. I would avoid the phone when possible. My office basically has an old landline, so I don't get texts, but it does have a voicemail that goes to my email. So if you want to leave a voicemail, you can, but the best way to get in touch with me is through email. My office is just upstairs, so I'm up there. My door is open during office hours, and I'm happy to work with you then. My office hours this term, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 9:45, Monday, Wednesday from 12 to 2 and by appointment. So the way that I do office hours is I will be upstairs during that time, right? But if you are remote, if you're not here for various reasons, I simultaneously have a Zoom link on the front page of Canvas for my office. So if you prefer to meet with me over Zoom during my office hour time, I'm both there face-to-face and there through Zoom. If you would like to set up a meeting with me outside of those office hours, if those times don't work for you, right, just shoot me an email with 2 to 3 times you'd like to meet, and I'm happy to set up an appointment, right? So just because you can't make these times does not mean that I'm unavailable to work with you. I'm happy to work with you at another time that might work. So there is a textbook requirement for this course. I like to do what I can to keep prices as low as possible, and I also like to do what I can to make sure that there is ebook access, because I know the process of getting items shipped here can take a whole lot of time. So the textbook for this course is Stewart, Interviewing Principles and Practices. And what I do is to help you with that process. The first week, I will have, I already have the reading available as a PDF for you to access, right? So if you're waiting on a copy, you're waiting for a paycheck, you're waiting to get access to the reading, you can still complete the reading and all the material that you need for this first week. And the PDF is right here for you to look at, right? So that covers everything for the first week. You'll also note that in addition to being able to order a copy, you are able to purchase an ebook for this course, right? So one easy option here is to just use the Amazon ebook rental. Click the link on the Canvas announcement, rent it, and that's just $33. That'll cover you for the whole term. That hopefully is not too cost intensive, but also gives you instant access to the book that you can use right away. And the bookstore has also stocked the book as well. So if you are ever having issues with accessing the book, let me know. You'll need it beginning in week 2, and for the time being, you're welcome to use the PDF of the first week's readings for the quiz due at the end of the week. I'll always be in my office if you need to get a hold of me. If you're trying to join through Zoom, just shoot me an email or let me know that you're joining remotely. And otherwise, I will be upstairs. So this is face-to-face course. If you are an athlete and you're traveling, right, you're able to do so as an excused absence. Unexcused absences, everybody gets 3 outside of interview presentation days. And I'll ask that you complete a makeup assignment on Canvas if you have more than 3 unexcused absences. What I do in this class is before the start of every class, I post the slides from the class meeting. And I do this because I know there's some folks in the back, if you use a screen reader or are in need of additional accessibility support, right, that's available for you to do. So you can see them right here. That means you do not need to write down word for word notes from the class. Instead, I encourage you to focus on taking notes on what stands out to you, what's interesting to you, and being able to refer back to those slides later. I also record each class meeting, and then I upload the recording to Canvas after class. That way, if you need to miss class or there's something we talked about that you'd like reviewed, you're welcome to look back through the recording of that day. That's also a way that you can catch up if you needed to miss class for an unexcused reason. And in addition to that, if you find that you're sick or under quarantine, if you were not able to get to campus safely due to factors such as weather, shoot me an email in advance and I will give you a temporary Zoom link to join us remotely for that day, right? So this is a face-to-face course. I do ask that you come face-to-face when you're able, but if there's an emergency, please don't hurt yourself to come to class, and I want to make sure that I can do what I can to help you out. So there's a lot of policies and things that I'm not going to go over in super detail. I respect and support however you choose to respond to COVID-19, and we'll continue to follow the state guidelines, which do not require masks currently, but life happens while you're making plans. We'll see where things go. I encourage you, if you need an accommodation, to reach out to DSO as soon as possible, right? I'm not that kind of doctor. I can't issue a medical exemption, but working through DSO or working through student affairs, if you've had a significant personal issue come up, gives me a framework through which I can support you in the class. We'll be talking about a variety of different issues. I'm committed to supporting the diversity and experiences of students from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. We'll be having some good discussions, but I encourage respect and support for people. Of course, we take a strong position against bias, discrimination, harassment. I encourage you to continue to check your emails regularly in the class. I'll use Canvas announcements or updates if there needs to be a class cancellation or other issue that's come up. So make sure that your material, right, is original to the course, and make sure that you are following the academic integrity, right? I'd much rather have a late assignment or folks expressing those concerns than plagiarizing material. Information about dropping courses, information about office hours and contact that we've gone over. So you're welcome to use technology for taking notes and material, right? I just ask that please don't let it become a distraction for others. And please, we're only here for 50 minutes. So I think it's good for us to respect each other's time while we're here. Also, right, I know the technology and all of that stuff has changed. So again, I'd much rather have you turn something in late that's your own work than cut corners. Technology is here, things like ChatGPT are here and are going to be things that we see used in a lot of professional contexts. But I do ask that you produce work that's original for this class. A lot of the assignments and activities that we do will be asking you to reflect, to relate personally to material. So they're not necessarily the best candidates for AI generated content in the first place. So late assignments, -5% for each day that they're late. I will be happy to give you an extension if you request one in advance, ideally a week ahead of time. Grading is pretty standard. If you are actively engaged in the class, asking questions, doing class activities, really going above and beyond, and you are on the bubble of a higher grade, I will bump you up if you have participated really well in the course. I try to grade as quickly as I can within 2 weeks. I will look at rough drafts and outlines and do encourage you to cite sources on formal assignments. So for this course, right, there are quizzes that are open note, open book, and are taken on Canvas. The idea here is that you complete the reading for the week, right, that's listed. And then when you complete the quiz, right, that just goes over the reading and material, covers the questions pretty well. You might have tab open as you're working through the readings, right? It's not designed to trick you. It's designed to make sure that you are working through the reading from that week and understanding the material that we're going over. So we'll be having the quizzes each week that'll be due on Sundays of that week. So your first quiz is due this Sunday. We'll be doing a writing assignment a few weeks into the course. We'll be talking more about that later, but I'll be asking you to analyze an interview. It's about 15 minutes in length or more. Might be something like a video interview, something like 60 minutes, or something like video on YouTube that you're interested in, with people that you're interested in. So you'll be doing an analysis, looking at some of the strategies, question choices, follow-ups, and so on. We'll be doing 4 interviewing presentations in the class, right? So, or 3 interview presentations. Each of them, there will be 4 in-class days dedicated to those, right? So I'll be circulating a form that will indicate your availability, the times you can and can't make, and I'll assign partnerships based on that. The survey interview is our first interview in the class. I'll be asking you to interview somebody about their experience here at EOU, and the goal being to provide information to EOU's president and administration on what it's like to be a student here. So for this assignment, in addition to doing the interview in class, I'll be asking you to turn in a script, which is like a set of questions and material that you as an interviewer are prepared to ask. And then a brief, which is, as an interviewee, the information that you're prepared to share and the prep that you have done to answer the interview questions, right? So we'll be going over the expectations for those, but for each of the interview presentations, right, you'll be turning in a script, which are your questions, your guide for questioning the interviewee, and you'll also be turning in basically the responses to questions and material that you have prepared as somebody responding to an interview. We'll be doing an employment interview later on in the term, right? That will be you and a partner working together to develop professional or other job opportunity to participate in that job interview. I'll give you a lot of flexibility between you and your partner to find type of job interview that you find yourselves both interested in. And then at the end of the term, you'll be able to pick between a performance, persuasive, counseling, or healthcare interview. We'll be talking about all of those. We'll be putting you in partnerships based on your preference to those. You'll be giving that final interview in the class. And then at the very end of the term, you'll be turning in a final reflection that just discusses some of the things that you've learned and applied from the course. Make sure to actively come to class. Let me know if you're not able to attend face-to-face, if you're in need of a Zoom link. This is general education course and has those outcomes. So that covers the main material from the syllabus, expectations for the course, and all of that good stuff. Anybody have any questions? Anything related to the syllabus, course expectations, or anything else? Judging by the zipping and folding, seems as though they don't. So got us out a couple minutes early, kept my promise. So we will, on Wednesday, be exploring more fundamentals of the interviewing process. I encourage you to get a start on the week's reading or secure a copy of the book, the course, since you'll need it next week, in whatever format you prefer. So take a look at the beginning of the readings to help pace yourself. Have a great rest of your first week, and I look forward to seeing you all again for class on Wednesday.
Right now.
I got it, Dale.
You know,
That's the one. I
Yes.
was just wondering, do you ever bump people from the 92?
So
Or the 92
that'd be a
44.
it's right on the bubble. If that were to come up, are you saying for an existing course?
That was the one I had in
Yeah,
last
yeah.
semester.
Um,
Because A- is due impact UPA, right? It's like,
they're slightly different.
Go to?
That's tricky. That's really close. I'll have to double check
okay.
what was posted on Gator. Yeah, give me some time to think about that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good meeting you.